Rwanda ranks first in the world for women in leading roles in the national government, okay? Number one in the world. And it comes in at 61.3% of women in leading roles in the government. Hey, beautiful people, welcome back. So, today we're going to be hitting on some very important points around gender equality and women's empowerment here in the country of Rwanda. As I mentioned in my previous video, one of the top reasons why I chose to settle in this country was because of women's progression, the movement that's happening here, women empowerment, women equality. As you can imagine, this means a lot to me as a woman personally. I also am an attorney, and I'm aware of the struggle that we're going through as women globally when it comes to women's rights, equal pay, gender discrimination, all of the above. And when it comes to African countries, keep in mind that the majority of African countries are highly patriarchal, okay? So women's rights are nowhere even in the mix, okay? It's not even part of the discussion, it's not part of the culture. So, for a small country like Rwanda to not only take a stance against that and actively go against the grain, they are including all of these initiatives in their governmental policies and parliament. So, this is something that we should take a closer look at because it's a great example, I think, for other African countries to look into and to follow, hopefully, in the near future. All right, so I'm going to highlight two articles in this review. I'm going to be reading through some of the main points and I will add my own opinion here and there. So I wanted to highlight some of the main accomplishments that have been occurring over the years, and we'll just see where the country is heading. All right, so let's get into it. So the first article is entitled Rwanda, the Journey of Gender Equality and Women's Empowerment. And this is a recent article published on March 14, okay? So it says gender equality is a key aspect of healthy, safe societies and economic resilience. Rwanda exemplifies gender equality and is looked to as a world leader and unique case study. Since the devastating genocide of 1994, Rwanda's leadership has helped to amplify gender equality and narrow the gender gap, and the country is revered as one of the most pro-women country in the world for empowering women. All right, so this is definitely something that we need to take a closer look at. All right, so how did they accomplish this? So, by empowering women, Rwanda has provided good education opportunities, better health care, and increased standards of living for women and society at large, ensuring that future generations benefit from this investment in gender equality. Rwanda's achievements has resulted in the decline of maternal mortality rates arising from women's improved access to quality and affordable health care. All right, they go on to say a few more things, but I want to hit on some of the evolution points here. Because most of those killed in the Rwandan genocide were men, and because many other men fled to neighboring nations, 70% of Rwanda's post-genocide population was female. Okay, this is a very key point. 70% of post-genocide population here was female. Faced with the necessity to help family and community members' survival, women stepped up to help repair the country after the genocide. The newly enacted Rwanda Constitution of 2003 decreed that 30% of parliamentary seats be reserved for women. Women would be appointed to leadership roles like government, ministers, police chiefs, and female education was strongly encouraged. Following the 2003 election, 48% of parliamentary seats went to women, 56% in 2008, 64% in 2013, and 68% in 2018, making it the world's highest, okay, 68%. By August 2018, women made up 42% of the total cabinet members, 32% of senators, 50% of judges, and 43.5% of city and district council seats. Women are well represented and active across different sectors in education, business, trade, sports, etc. Rwanda ranks first in the world for women in leading roles in the national government, okay? Number one in the world. And it comes in at 61.3% of women in leading roles in the government, okay? It is closely followed by Cuba, which has 53.4% women, Nicaragua at 50.6%, the UAE 50%, Mexico 50%, New Zealand 49.2%, Sweden 47%, Grenada 46.7%, and South Africa at 46.4%. Okay, so they have a strong lead on this. Today, Rwanda's politics are viewed as a model of gender inclusiveness. Currently, Rwanda has the most women serving in leadership roles within the government, with nearly 2/3 of its parliamentary seats and 52% of cabinet positions being held by women. And within their constitution, gender equality is established to prevent discrimination of any kind and has helped to propel the country as one of the top 10 in the world to narrow the gender gap for UN women. It's no surprise that Rwanda has been chosen to host the 6th Women Deliver Conference in Kigali in July 2023. It is the largest conference on the well-being, health, equality, and rights for women this century. For the very first time, the Women Deliver Conference will be held on the African continent. So this is major for Rwanda. It is an honor for Rwanda to be the next host of this convening, as it affirms that the ongoing efforts in country around gender equality by the government of Rwanda are gaining the desired traction. All right. So this conference will convene thousands of decision makers from diverse fields, including civil society, government, the private sector, and international agencies, alongside women's rights organizations and movements, youth-led and LGBTQIA plus organizations, and advocates representing the intersectional identities of girls, women, and underrepresented populations in low and middle income countries to identify solutions and drive progress for gender equality. Wow. This conference will catalyze conversations with stakeholders from around the world, breaking barriers, addressing challenges, and identifying opportunities to advance gender equality, including sexual and reproductive health and rights, to improve the health, rights, and well-being of girls and women in all intersecting identities. The chair of the conference has stated that we believe that gender equality will only be achieved once all people have equal access to power, dignity, justice, rights, health, and opportunities that will enable them to network, develop skills, share knowledge, access funding opportunities, and participate in conversations that contribute to the global agenda setting on gender equality. So guys, this conference is happening in 3 months. This is going to happen in July 2023. And this is something major. As they stated, this is the first conference that's happening on the African continent for the Women Deliver Conference. And this is major for it to be happening in Rwanda. And they honored the country because of the progression that has been happening here on the soil in terms of women's rights. So I'm going to link these 2 articles below. They're quite long, so you can also go over some of the key points here. But I think this is absolutely incredible. At my last law firm job in the US, I was sharing an office with a Caucasian male who was my fellow coworker. And over the time that we were sharing the office, we grew quite close as friends. And I think most employers assume that, their employees would not be discussing things like salary. But because he and I were good friends, we did discuss salary. And I was very alarmed when we had the discussion. Okay. First of all, I was the only black female attorney at the firm. There was another black colleague, but he was male. And it was only two of us, only two black attorneys out of a total of 20. So that was alarming. And number two, I had significantly more experience than my colleague who I was sharing the office with. So when we were discussing the information, I was asking him questions like, were you offered this up front or did you have to negotiate to get to this amount? He was like, no, they offered me this initially out the gate. So, I mean, which made it even worse because not only was I getting paid less, but I had to negotiate the current salary that I was at. I had to negotiate that up. So they started me out even lower than what I was currently getting paid. So the struggle for equal pay, women's rights, women's discrimination is a universal problem. It's something that definitely hits home for me. And I am very honored to be in a country that is recognizing that problem and is proactively working against it. They have incorporated a lot of rules in their laws surrounding women's rights. And I think it's something that is very rare and it should be a model for most countries to look into and follow. So I'm excited about this conference that is happening in a few months. Of course, I will keep you posted on that information. Drop a comment below if you have experienced any discrimination being a woman. Let me know your experience and if you would consider moving to a country such as Rwanda that is going against the grain and moving in the right direction in terms of women's rights. Let me know what your thoughts are on that. All right, guys, I hope you have a great day. This was a quick one today, so I will see you guys soon in the next video. Bye.